Alright, back to the second half of my Trial of Speed playthrough. Let's see if my improved running speed helps me get some early hits on Yordo. Well, not any more than normal, I suppose. But this fight is going to be a big problem without dodge roll invulnerability, since his minions will gang up on me pretty quickly, and I have absolutely no way to avoid their attacks at this point. I mean, I suppose I could use the shield, but that's just gonna shatter almost immediately. And I've also got bad parry timing. And I'm also hitting the strong attack button instead of the weak attack button on the follow-up. That's not gonna help. Nor is it gonna help if the enemies hit me before I have a chance to actually perform the riposte. So let's drop a mine there, see if I can lure him into it. Nope, one of his minions is gonna set it off instead. It's more than half my health gone, and I haven't managed to get one successful riposte. I think that's really going to set the tone for the whole fight, honestly. And there is one slight advantage to having increased running speed, which is only going to become relevant if I can get to the second half of the fight. Finally. So, yeah, now he's in runaway and summon minions mode. And with my increased speed, I can actually catch up to him. Just in time to get trapped inside his circle of goons. I did manage to get out, but without the dodge roll and vulnerability, there was nowhere to go. And, yeah, the exhaustion is going to be a huge problem. You know, when all you can do is run, you gotta run. So let's see if I can take a bit of a more sensible approach this time. Get about as close as I can without him noticing me. Go in for those early attacks, because it's still critical. And lock on to completely the wrong enemy with no idea what's happening. He is at least separated from the pack for once. So, should be about time for him to run away. And fortunately, I guessed correctly which attack pattern he was going to go for. Want to see if I can do any damage to him from a distance. Probably should not be throwing away all of my attack items at this point, because I'm going to need them later on, but I do have the improved running speed, so when he pulls out the greatsword and tries to keep his distance from me, I may actually still be able to catch up and do the damage I need to do. So really the key here is just run up, get one attack, and then get the heck out of there. And if I can get him to summon all his minions at a good distance from him, that's a good opportunity right there. So now it has to be greatsword time. He cannot possibly continue to fight with the spear and shield. Or maybe he can. Alright, now he's got to switch. And I think I've finally gotten the hang of realizing he's not going to be doing a whole lot of attacks that I can parry, so I'll just go for the Greatsword. And go for those running attacks. Piece of cake. Now we get into the really difficult stuff. The bosses that have really big attacks. And as you can see, not being able to roll away from them is a huge problem. I think Camberluce especially, he can just pull those cleavers out at a moment's notice and attack anywhere nearby. So, keeping a distance, taking advantage of his weakness whenever I can, probably going to be the only strategy that'll work. And actually, I think just keeping an iceberg between me and him is going to work better than anything else I've tried. I certainly don't want to stay close to him, not under these conditions. I probably ought to lure his attacks away from the iceberg now. Yeah, not really sure what I was thinking at that point. Let's try to get him a little away from the edge, although, yeah, there's the ice hole. Another chance to capitalize on his weakness. And get him to crash into an iceberg. And take a whole bunch of hits in the process. That was probably the worst run I've ever had of stunning him. And I don't have a lot of room to work with, but we'll get back in there. This isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Alright, now I'm starting to see some problems. Trying to roll through his attack, not going to work. And I was a little slow on the draw with that spear, but I think I prevented him from doing a whole lot of healing. Is it just me, or was that a lot more damage than you usually take from that attack? I guess I don't get hit by it all that often. But let's just see if I can finish the job here. Gotta play it safe, but that's the opening I was waiting for. Came close, but I triumph. I think things are going to get even harder from this point because there are a lot of Rhodes' attacks that I just barely roll through at the last minute. And the second half of the fight is going to have some really, really awful moments. But I'm certainly not going to attempt to use the pick here. Yeah, Shield Slam can't roll through. side slashes can't roll through. The energy waves that he shoots at you from a distance, you can't roll through. In fact, every technique that has ever worked in this fight just doesn't work here. And the slow healing isn't going to be doing me any favors either. Again, relying largely on the ability for my weapon to take me past him as I attack, if I can aim it properly. And having to get out of the way of his attacks well before I see them coming. I think that's the only way that I'm going to be able to deal with his shield bash, is just to run past it rather than trying to roll. There are times when it's really uncertain what's going to happen, and there are times when it seems like I'm rolling right into the area of an attack and it still doesn't affect me. That time I just rolled into it. I know. Too used to the normal timing of things. There's a reason that I have no intention of ever trying the Trial of the Sinner. It's taken me enough tries to beat most of these bosses that I'm not going to attempt to do it all in one try. Not under these conditions. But I'm almost at the halfway point here. I want to wait until the homing bullets are done before I put him into his desperation mode. He'll go for the attack, but it's probably more dangerous than I really ought to be willing to put up with, because rolling isn't going to get me out of the way of his homing bullets. See if I can get him to take out his minion with the homing attack rather than me. And here's the real problem with this fight. He's got those area attacks that about the only way to avoid the damage is to roll at the right time. Well, in the Trial of Speed, rolling at the right time doesn't do it. You're still going to take the damage. So really, this has become a race against time. I've got to defeat him before he does enough area attacks to finish me off. And I've got to be super lucky here. I think maybe if I'm in the middle of certain attacks when he does it, it won't affect me. But I have no idea what just happened there. I still need to get back into close range. And I think I'll just take a couple of those attacks and finish him off. I think that was almost entirely luck. I don't think there was any amount of skill involved in most of that fight. Granted, I'm probably going to say that about every fight. So I asked a number of videos ago, because I actually had recorded the commentary for that video after finding out what was going to be in the update, what do you think a fight against Angron would be like if you don't have invulnerability when you dodge roll? This is what it's like. Now, not too bad so far, but you've really got to anticipate attacks like that punch very early. Because it will just knock you off the platform, and your well-timed roll is absolutely meaningless. I didn't recognize which attack that was, and lost a little bit of opportunity to attack. Going for his head, big mistake with this weapon. I'm not going to be able to hit him. And the issue is, you've got to be pretty close to bait the attacks that'll give you an opportunity to hit him, but then you have absolutely no means of dodging a lot of the attacks that he'll follow up with. And all of my attacks are missing here. So, strangely enough, even though I'm doing so little damage to him, this is probably about the best fight that I had. This fight is just miserable without being able to roll out of the way of any of his attacks. And there I thought he was going to destroy the ledge. He didn't. But I ran too far away, and now he's going to destroy it anyway. And there's not a whole lot of defense against something like that. Yeah, I can't roll out of the way of his weapons at the last second. And if he throws a couple of swords at me at once, that's the end. I scored a couple of hits there, but this attack is a killer every time. Because you can't dodge any of those attacks, and you don't get any invulnerability while you're lying on the ground either. The only thing that saves you normally is, after taking the first hit, you can roll out of the way of the follow-up. Doesn't work here. So I'm really trying to take advantage of the pullback on some of his attacks, being able to go in and get him, but there we go. Full health, and he still kills me in a single combo. And that's when my capture hardware ran out of space. So I'm going to have to start a new one next time.